Oh, sorry, and there is another person that I'm admitting from the waiting room. Okay, so David, welcome. I think you're just connecting to audio now, but I'm going to ask that you remain on mute for the duration of the proceedings. And we are recording now for roll call. I just wanted to advise everyone that all of council is present. Mayor Local, Deputy Mayor Joan Stover, Councillors Mayor Catherine O'Neill, Councillors Greg Booth, and Councillor Mike Ainsworth. I believe we're able to proceed.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our tonight's meeting for our regular council session for July the 18th. I'll call this meeting to order at 6:02, and we'll start off with the territorial land acknowledgement. If Deputy Mayor Stover, if you could read that to us, please, I'd appreciate it.
I will. Would be an honor. Before our meeting gets underway, I would like to formally recognize the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Alma-Calderman is located on the Mississauga, Ashaninimbec territory and is a territorial or the traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. The township of Alma-Calderman respectfully acknowledge that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We're going to move on to item 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Us to council. Deputy Mayor, do you have a comment?
I have a declaration of pecuniary interest to pass on to Madam CAO. It has to do with agenda 14, number 14, 14.1. As the agenda for the closed meeting reads, it will be number E. And the reason for this declaration is litigation with the library board.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That'll be duly recorded. We're going to move on to item 4, approval of the agenda as circulated. Be it resolved, the agenda of the regular council session of Tuesday, July 18th, 2023 be approved as circulated. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Councillor Booth and seconded by, Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we're going to move on to approval of the minutes. And we have approval of the March 7th, 2023 meeting minutes. We also have the March 21st, 2023 minutes. I'll ask if anybody, someone to move in and second those. Be it resolved, the regular council session minutes of March 7th, 2023 be approved. Mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor, or pardon me, Councillor O'Neill. Seconder.
Can't see your hand.
I can't see anybody's hands.
You're gonna have to put a ring.
Okay, Councillor Booth.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was a confusing name.
All in favor? All in favor? Carried. Then we'll go on to 5.2, regular council session minutes of March 21st, 2023. Be it resolved, the regular council session minutes of March 21st, 2023 be approved. If I get a mover and a seconder for that. Deputy Mayor Stover moves, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we have business arising from the previous minutes. Councillor O'Neill.
Yes, I have two items. One, if I can direct through to the fire chief. You were looking into dealing with the large water tank that's no longer in use at the Centerton Hall. Has there been progress made on that?
Thank you. Through your bear. The water tank wall, so the wall to the enclosure of the water tank is being disassembled right now. So far, there's no cost to the township because our volunteer firefighters are doing it. The water tank will be removed by the roads department. So that is all internal. Once the tank is outside, a company by the name of Langeals. It was the only company we could find that would come and pick it up. They will charge us a trucking fee and then the township will receive the weight of the scrap metal value. And at that point in time, I will be able to provide a report to council.
Thank you. And Mayor Logan?
Yes, go ahead.
Just one other item, and I guess I'm going to direct this to our acting CAO. Just any progress on the sidewalk snow removal. It said we were going to look into options.
Sorry, for you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we will be bringing forward a report in September.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Stover.
I just want to address the notice of motion where it has to deal with the HR policies for volunteers as well as the other policies tied into that. And I'd like to ask Madam CAO through you, Mayor Logal, an update on the policies that will be coming forward to address these.
Yes, so staff will be bringing forward their policies. Small portions at every meeting. We'll be starting with our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I had a couple other ones as well. The first one I was regarding the snow removal, and pardon me, Councillor O'Neill already addressed that. Resolution 107, 2023 regarding the MRF agreement. I know we've basically agreed that we will not have that for 2024. And my question to Madam CAO, is there any work being done with the new the purchaser on that so that we'll be able to get taxes for 2024?
I believe, Mr. Mayor, that agreement hasn't been signed over. They're purchasing it. So I don't know if it has been finalized yet, but once it is, then yes, we'll be working on it.
Okay. Thank you. And my second one was regarding resolution 109, 2023, which was regarding DocuPet. And I don't know if council has asked for it or not yet, but I think it would be interesting to know at the end of 2023 how many people have signed up and what staff would recommend to make sure that we're getting more people signed up. So I guess if I'm looking for something to say that in January, we'd have a report saying this is how many we signed up and this is how many people estimate that are still out there. So I don't know if you need a resolution for that or not.
Yes, please.
Okay. Would somebody like to move that? Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Booth. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. I think I've seen your hand go up again too, Councillor O'Neill.
I was just going to say, we haven't put that on the website on Facebook or the website recently. Maybe it'd be worthwhile to put it up once more. That you can use DocuPet to register.
Okay.
Good point.
It was on there. Okay.
Any further minutes or anything else that you would like to add? Okay.
If
we'll
I
move
may,
on.
if I
yeah.
may, Mayor Logo.
Go ahead.
If I may, Mayor Logo, some of your communication is getting a bit garbled. So I just want to, we may
Is
be
it
having
louder
to
now?
ask. We
Okay,
can hear you now.
okay. I'll try and stay closer to the equipment.
Good.
We're gonna move on to 7, which is the fire department. 7.1, we have a report from Dave Dawson, Fire Chief, dated July 18th, 2023, regarding the 2023 mid-year call report for previous year comparison. Go ahead, Chief Dawson.
Thanks, Mayor Logo. This report is just to be filed for information to council. It's just to give you a partway through the year update as to our call volume. 2022, we responded to 300 emergencies. 2021 was 352. And this year we're on track to be over the 300 mark as well. So this is just an update of information.
Thank you. I'll read the resolution and then we'll ask if there's any questions. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Alma-Calderman received the Fire Chief's Report 2023 mid-year call report, previous year comparison for information. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
Is there a reason that April is so high, especially for the medical calls?
Chief, you want to answer that?
Comparative to 2022.
Yeah, it's not a very big comparison, but it's almost double.
So one of the things that we're dealing with in the service, and there's emergency services everywhere, is the number one, the significant lack of personnel. That is not with your fire department, but that is with our aid partners that we work with. The EMS program or staffing ended up at a very, very low mark, especially with full-time staff. And we were using a lot of part-time staff with the paramedic service. But what happens today, when our paramedic service gets stretched thin, your fire department is the next call in.
Okay, thank
So
you.
it's either a time constraint or because of distance or just lack of availability.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? That motion is carried. We'll move on to 7-2, which is the report from Dave Dawson, Fire Chief, July 8, 2023, regarding apparatus pumper 481. Go ahead, Deputy Chief, or Chief, I should say.
Totally okay. Thank you, Mayor Logo. This report again is filed for information to council. This was a question that council had asked as part of our apparatus procurement plan. Why was a 2012 vehicle not certifying? Why was it not able to be brought up to certification standards to today's abilities and or certification requirements? And therefore, the fire chief was asked to inquire as to what it would cost to bring this vehicle up to today's standard for a pumper tanker vehicle apparatus under the NFPA requirements. So this report again is for information.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor Logo. David, just with this tanker here for replacement, where would it be used for? And the only reason I ask that question, if it's literally used for down here, is there enough hydrants that would maybe we don't need it for this area? Or is it used in Centerton? Is it used in Roseneath, or just? Yeah.
Through your Mayor Logo, the tanker is used all across the township for shuttling water. It's used for mutual aid services as well to help out our neighboring departments. Right now, it is able to haul water and dump water. It is able to put out small grass fires and or exterior fires, outdoor fires, but it cannot be used as a pumping apparatus for interior fire structure. The pump is not big enough.
So how many gallons per minute does that pump now?
Right now, it's 550 liters per minute.
Is that the pump or is it just the capacity of the pump?
That's the pump.
That's the pump. Okay. And the refurbisher wants to replace the tank.
That is correct.
I just wondered if we could refurbish the pump or change the pump and not change the tank, would that help the cost?
So if I could take those recommendations and look at it for you and bring back more information.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I think Councilor Ainsworth, you brought up some good points and I look forward, as everybody else will, to hear your report, Dave. Thank you very much. Any further questions or comments on this report? Councilor Booth?
Through you, your worship, to the chief. So the estimated cost of a refurbishment, Dave, is 200 to 250,000. How much is a new unit?
A tanker truck, depending on how you spec it, you will spend somewhere between probably 550,000 to 700,000 for
Okay.
a pumper tanker.
Okay, thank you.
And if I can carry on from a little bit from there, can you purchase ones that are reliable that are used by other people, or other fire groups?
Mayor Logo,
I'll ask through that to the chief.
can you repeat your question?
Sure. Just to carry on from what Greg has said. Can you purchase reliable used pieces of equipment that would service us?
Prior to the pandemic, you could purchase a lot of things. Since the pandemic, they're not readily available.
Okay. Well, we look forward to your report. Any further questions? All in favor?
We made a motion. There's
Oh.
no motion.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, maybe I didn't. For 7.2, be resolved that the chief of the, be it resolved that council of the township of Allen McCullough receive fire chief report fire apparatus tanker 481 dated July 18th, 2023 for information. And further that council direct staff to sell this apparatus once the new pumper apparatus arrives in 2024 and continue to follow the apparatus procurement plan adopted in 2023. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. And I guess I just have one comment on that, and that's regarding the second comment or the second portion of that. I talked to Dave, and I'm not sure if Pat will have to look that up, but I don't recall council ever approving that procurement plan that he mentions in 2023. So I'd like council, pardon me, Pat, staff to confirm that was in fact done. So I would suggest that we amend that to do. Councillor O'Neill?
Our acting CAO would like to give you some information, Mayor Logo.
Okay,
Yes, Mayor Logo, that procurement plan was passed by council during budget discussions.
okay. But we could look at that again if we wanted, could we not?
Yes, you could.
I'm just concerned that looking at the whole picture, that we may not be able to afford to buy another or follow that replacement. Councillor O'Neill?
I think that was the point of having an asset management structure to it. And I recall very much that we discussed how that could be pushed into 2024 to make it so that we did not need to use a debenture, or at least not a large debenture, to be able to move forward with that. So we did discuss that, and that was part of our decision. But this is what asset management looks like, is predicting what vehicles need to be replaced when, and then budgeting for them. And so we do know what apparatuses will need to be replaced over time in that plan that we approved.
Yeah, well, my concern is, and I agree with you, the one for 2023 that we're going to order in 2023 for delivery in 2004 would meet our cash availability. But I think we were going to have to go out and take a debenture on purchasing additional equipment after that. And in my opinion, that is not the right thing to do.
Mayor Logo, may I address you?
Yep.
We discussed this as part of the procurement plan when it was brought to council for adoption at the time of the 2023 budget. Further, ordering fire apparatus today, most manufacturing companies are asking for a 2 to 3 year build time. So when we look at our apparatus procurement plan, as an example, truck 481 that council has asked for information on, being a 2012 is 11 years old. That vehicle is not scheduled for replacement till actually 2026. In 2026, that vehicle will be another 3 years old from today, making it 14 years old. And then when you order the apparatus on a 2 to 3 year build, that piece of equipment will be 17 years before the replacement is here. So it's something that we do have to consider and plan ahead. But just to bring to your attention that council did approve it, we have gone forward with the procurement plan as presented and approved. I'm certainly more than happy at any time to discuss any options with you.
Okay. I see you jumped in, Nicole. Do you have any comments?
Mayor Vogel, I wasn't there for most of the conversation, so I'm going to refrain from commenting.
Okay. Thank you. I guess I would like to see that that plan put together and with the, use the figures that you've just quoted, Dave, to say that they are going to be, everything is going to be delayed, and see how that fits into the asset management plan for the next 4 years anyways. And I will make the other comment, I will make another comment, a fire truck that's only lasting 17 years, whether that be because it was poorly designed or whatever, that's not what our township can afford, in my opinion, and maintain 3 fire halls.
Mayor Logo, I completely respect your opinion.
Okay.
Apparatus timelines were 20 years for second run apparatus, 15 years for first run. So when we're using our 20-year-old apparatus for first run, we're not following the NFPA certification requirements. So all that we're trying to do through our procurement plans and through our reports that we're bringing to council is just trying to assist the community to remain up to certification standards. The first couple vehicles that we're working on replacing are well over 20 years old. They're 22 and 23 years old now. And those are the ones that we're working on first.
Okay, and when are they going to be, when are they scheduled to be replaced, Dave?
The first apparatus is to be delivered in 2024, but we have not gone to market yet. We have created the RFP. Our acting CEO has the RFP currently in review. Once it's reviewed, we will be able to go to market. Once that goes to market, we will be subject to the companies that bid on our RFP, and we will have no other choice but to stand in line with every other fire department in the province. Part of putting together a procurement plan that actively identifies the equipment that you're required when you require it, and it is a 20-year plan. It's so that you can be competitive as a municipality in the entire apparatus building process.
Okay, and Dave, we have 11 trucks, is that, or 11 apparatuses, is that correct?
We had 15. My recommendation was to go to 13, which shaved almost $1 million off of the procurement plan. And then we move forward with the procurement plan starting in 2023.
Okay, I guess if you're down to 13, I don't see how you can replace one of those every 20 years and still stay within that. I'd have to do a calculation on that, but that just doesn't seem to add up correctly. Anyways,
Mayor Logal, if I may, we also council approved to get what's called a master fire plan, which will be created after the community risk assessment that was approved 2 weeks ago at council. It has been awarded and we are starting to work on it. Your master fire plan for your community, based on your community risk assessment plan, will identify the required or the recommended apparatus, fire stations, personnel. It will give you a complete document as to what your fire department should look like. And at that point, you will have all of the information to be able to make educated decisions.
thank you. Okay, we've had a mover and a seconder on this report. Go ahead. Oh, sorry, Mike, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I do through you, Mayor Logan. I just wanted to, like, so before we, are we okaying this, or Dave's gonna come back with a report on whether we can change the pump and keep the tank? And I would like to add to that, like, would our mechanics be able to change the pump in that truck instead of sending it away?
Through you, Mayor Logo, Council Ainsworth, I will try to find a company that is willing to do that. I don't think I'm gonna have any luck, but I will definitely try for council. We're dealing with a supply and demand situation that is already 2 to 3 years out. The manufacturing companies of the fire apparatus are already maxed and taxed. We can try to get one that wants to play with a 10-year-old, 11-year-old vehicle, but I don't think we're going to find it. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So we can definitely do the report for council, no problem.
Yeah, no, I get what the mayor is saying about what we can afford, and I appreciate the fact that maybe it'll save $1 million in the procurement plan. So that's good stuff also.
I guess I would like to suggest that we approve this recommendation, but not include the second portion of that. And that we consider it that, first of all, we consider, as Mike has asked for, some to look at 481 in another couple areas. But when the time comes, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be until 2025 when we receive this new truck, as I understand. So this may be delayed anyways. Because it doesn't sound like it's going to happen. We're going to receive that in 2024. Is that correct?
Mayor Logo, it's a lot of guesswork.
Okay.
So if I was sitting here trying to build a responsible and reasonable fire department, I would be wanting to put my best foot forward. The longer we delay, the longer you delay the inevitable of replacing trucks that are already past their certification dates.
Okay.
That is a decision of council for sure, and I will assist you to gather all the information we can.
Okay. So can we take off the second portion of that recommendation, which is further the council direct staff to sell this apparatus once the new pumper arrives in 2024 and continue to follow the apparatus procurement plan adopted in 2023. That would be my recommendation. Any other comments from council? Deputy Mayor?
Through your Mayor Logo to Chief Dawson. I think we would be a little ahead of ourselves to be passing things until we have all the information that we need. Would that be a good guess?
I would need to ask for clarity.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking, this has already been budgeted for, has it not?
Yes, it has.
So when we looked at all that, we budgeted for it. So I just wonder where that puts us. When we've already budgeted for an item, we've given you the go ahead to order it, start the process, I'm not sure logistically where that puts us. Or would you want to bring a report back with what the mayor is suggesting?
Through your mayor, so I'm confused and I apologize for that.
I'm
Well,
confusing you.
So we started.
Maybe I'm confusing everyone. I believe that we have, the budget was approved for the purchase of a truck, a pumper, a tanker for, to purchase in 2023 and to arrive in 2024. And I think that's what you're referring to, isn't it, Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Okay,
Mayor Logo.
I think that's very,
If I may offer some clarity. So asset management was about looking at the entire portfolio of the equipment that your fire department owns, meaning the big red shiny stuff. The other equipment inventory plan is coming to council for the 2024 budget process. So the apparatus procurement plan identified in the end a $5.2 million value. $5.2 million divided by 20 years was approximately $310,000 a year. What council approved was not the purchase of $700,000-800,000 pieces of equipment all at once. Council approved increasing the fire budget by $310,000 per year, approximately, and then using the funds to identify replacing the apparatus at their 20-year lifespan timeline. So it would provide the fire department as a department the opportunity to continually replacing the equipment without exorbitant cost to council every time something comes due to be replaced. So it was 310,000 roughly per year. Nicole could make the correction on that. And that was every year. That can be increased by anybody at any time when the cost of equipment comes up. But that's what it was. And then at 20 years, again, everything gets replaced.
okay. I guess then what you're saying basically is you want to buy a new truck every year. Because that if we're going to do $300,000 and you're saying they're going to cost roughly 600,000. Correct?
Mayor Logal, no, that's not correct. I don't want to buy a new truck every year. My recommendation was to follow.
No. You can't buy a truck every year. I agree with that. Every second year.
I think we have a bit of disconnect in the communication. My recommendation was to follow the NFPA's requirement for the replacement of apparatus at its end of life term of 20 years. You can keep a fire apparatus from 20 to 25 years if you can have it as a third run response vehicle. My recommendation in the procurement plan was to get our apparatus to first run response status because the municipality can't afford to keep around second and third run response vehicles. So at 15 years, we go through a significant safety certification process to try to buy another 5 years so that we can get 20 years out of the life of these apparatus. So the procurement plan was 310 a year. It identifies a catch-up period of 3 years because the fire department was behind. And then there's a couple of years in there where there is no purchasing that catch up with your funds. And then there's money down the road. It was to set the department up for the future. It was not about tomorrow or that a year from now or 2 years from now. It was a 20-year plan.
Yeah. And I guess, go ahead, Greg.
Through your worship, maybe to let's get ahead of this impasses. Could we defer this motion and go back to what Councillor Ainsworth was saying? Would it be possible, Chief, that by the next meeting, you could have a report to us whether or not the pump on 481 can be replaced by another company in that? And if you come back with no, it can't be, or it can't be done by our staff, then I say we go ahead and we pass this motion and we stick to what we voted on at budget time.
Through your Mayor Logo, Councillor, we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm happy with that.
I'm not sure, did somebody already make the motion?
Yes, so there is a motion on the floor by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor O'Neill. And that was to be resolved that the council of the township of Alma Calderman received the fire chief's report, fire apparatus tanker 481 dated July 18, 2023 for information. And the second part of that motion was, and further that council directs staff to sell this apparatus once the new pumper apparatus arrives in 2024 and continue to follow the apparatus procurement plan adopted in 2023. That was the motion that was on the floor.
I would make through your Mayor Logo an amendment to that.
To
And that's to defer it.
defer it
Defer
until,
it and bring back a report.
so the quicker you give us the report, Dave, if you can make it by next meeting, then we'll go ahead and look at it and then we'll vote on it then. If it's possible, I know it's asking a lot I'm sure there's not very many companies that can do a pump on a fire truck, right?
So that
Who's good?
through your mayor, so I have two questions floating. One is to defer the motion that is in the minutes. The second is to find a report on pump 481, right? Tanker 481 to replace the pump.
Yeah,
There's
that's why
two.
we were deferring
That's why
it.
you're
The questions that Councillor
Okay.
Mike asked, whether or not there is another company that will do the pump without doing the tank on the back.
So I can get a report, see if there's a company interested in looking at it.
Yeah.
Secondly, with respect to the motion, we can go back and resurface the procurement plan report that identified all the requirements that we were following and the background that put that entire asset management plan together.
That would be good.
We
For
can attach
review.
it to your report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
I think that's a good suggestion, Dave. Councillor Ainsworth?
To your Mayor Logo, just a question again for Dave. So the NFPA, my understanding was set up for the big cities and they didn't really take into account for small municipalities. Is there any way that we can, I guess, say push back, or is there any way we can make reference or ask for change?
Through you, Mayor Logo, Councillor Ainsworth, the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association. There are two pieces of document that you should look at. One is 1710 and the other is 1720. 1710 identifies the requirements for a full-time fire department. 1720 identifies the requirements for a volunteer part-time department. It sets the level of service based on your population demographic in a given geographic area. That is what we're working to follow. Province of Ontario mandated mandatory certification for firefighters across the province, regardless of whether you're part-time or full-time, and that started in 2021. We've been working to certify all of our staff to the level of requirement that is needed for the level of service for the township, its people, and the people that travel through it. As far as wanting to take on the NFPA, that is a North American blanketed organization that sets the standard for fire service right across North America. I would highly recommend that we don't do that.
Okay, Pat, whereabouts are we?
So we'll need a seconder for that amendment.
She seconded it, didn't you?
She seconded the original motion. Are you in favor of the amendment to defer it?
Who are you
I-
asking that to?
Councillor O'Neill seconded the original motion.
Okay,
The Mayor Stover made an amendment to that original motion. I'm just asking Councillor O'Neill if she's in favor of that amendment. I'm
So
seconding it.
if I understand the amendment correctly, what are we learning in the next month is would that number of 200,000 be less somehow? Is that the question we're asking the fire chief to find out?
If they didn't have to replace the tank. Because they're replacing the tank because the refurbisher doesn't like the high top tank or the round tank. Not that the tank is bad, he just doesn't. He does, if I'm right, Dave.
Through your Mayor Logo, what we could do is we could develop a tender or an RFP. And we could put in those requirements for a rebuild and see if we got anybody to bid on them.
Okay,
That might be the easiest way.
are you okay with that, Councillor O'Neill,
If that's the recommendation of our fire chief, I'm good with that.
Mayor Logo, so that is not a recommendation by your fire chief. I am happy to take some direction from council and provide you the documentation to which. you're
And
asking.
that's where I feel like I've gotten confused in this. You're the fire chief, you're the person who knows more about fire trucks than all the rest of us put together. And
the,
are
Go
we
ahead.
saying, can this fire truck that can only be used in certain situations now because it doesn't have an adequate pumper, but it is being used in some situations?
It's able to be used as a tanker. It's able to be used for exterior fire purposes.
But
So-
that's not the one that you're replacing for this coming 2024.
So
no,
since we're on the topic, let me go a bit further. We have a hydrant system here in Grafton. We have put forth the very smart plan of getting a master fire plan and a community risk assessment. Without the tanker being a certified pumper tanker in Grafton, you have one pumping apparatus here, one that is certified. You have one pumping apparatus that is certified in Centerton. You have a hydrant system in Grafton that is going to the water committee to be identified that needs to be looked at. On the ends of the 150 millimeter, we'll call them water mains of the hydrant system, one fire proper pumping apparatus is not able to operate at full capacity, one. The idea of having more than one pumping apparatus available for an interior firefight not only meets the NFPA standard, it's also considered smart practice. So we have to call in our neighboring partners to come and assist currently with the status of our equipment. I'm not trying to create fear mongering in any one part of the crowd and or our municipality. But when we bring these reports together, there's a lot of thought that goes behind it. Same thing with the certifications. When it comes to interior firefight and rescuing people, we don't have time on our side. We need the equipment that we can afford reasonably, available immediately. Same with our personnel. So I'm very happy to go back and review. The procurement plan is already brought forward and deliberated with council. No problem whatsoever. I'm happy to gather you the information of the tanker. No problem whatsoever. You have some great documentations coming forward. We're trying to put the municipality in the right place to make great decisions.
thank you, David. So it's been moved, or changed by Deputy Mayor Stover, her original comment. Mary Catherine, are you prepared to accept that?
So
My amendment.
your amendment is that he brings this back with a different price, but sure.
Yeah,
No.
report fairly quickly, I would think, the turnaround.
Through you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, it is already in the archives and we can pull it right from the calendar very quickly.
Thank you.
Are you okay with that, Mary Catherine?
Sure.
Okay, it's been duly moved and seconded. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you, David. Next, we'll move on to item 7.3. That's a report from Rob Gord, Deputy Fire Chief, Acting Bylaw Enforcement Officer regarding bylaw complaints from May 8th to July 10th, 2023. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Alma-Culdeman received the bylaw complaints report for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Discussion? Questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Next, we have a report from Dave Dawson, Acting Deputy CAO Fire Chief, dated July 18th, 2023, regarding proposed comprehensive bylaw. I can't read the last of it. Bylaw plan. Dave, do you want to take us through this?
Just to be clear, did you say, do I want a taste of this? I apologize. That's what I thought I heard.
Take us through this.
No, I said you want to take us through this.
For sure, Mayor Logo, I can do that. So the idea of the proposed comprehensive bylaw plan is to change the way that bylaws have been handled within Haldeman Township. Also the way it is sometimes handled in many municipalities. So the idea is to come forward with more of an action plan with regards to bylaw complaints. What I've asked for is that through our acting CAO in our staff meetings is if the fire department could take over the bylaw department for a period of time, that we could maybe try to get ahead of things, get things organized, and then be able to sit down with some data to say where our needs are. This is also something that council has asked for.
Okay.
So whether or not we look at an STR bylaw, which is not the conversation for this report, we have a ton of bylaws that exist in our municipality that are for noise, for parking, for zoning, you name it. We have a ton there. We need a process for enforcement. We need a process so that our customers, our taxpayers, our residents can call and expect to receive action. That action then follows a process. Either it is able to be dealt with immediately, or it's dealt with through investigation, where a report is then filed with our senior staff, with their CAO, that we have a staff meeting to understand what exactly the issues are, and then to understand what the next part of that process is, whether a report goes to council, whether or not our residents can come and speak before council about a certain complaint. But regardless, we need a system to follow when a bylaw complaint comes in. So part of the plan, we've identified a minimum 24-hour response time, meaning that all complaints will be answered within 24 hours. If it's an urgent bylaw complaint, then the 855 number through task force needs to be called. We've created some new literature that will be sent out if council agrees with this plan. Obviously, if it's an emergency, we call 911, but if it's an urgent bylaw matter, we can call the number. And my suggestion, because we're already working with the duty officer program with your fire department, and just to explain what a duty officer program is we always have somebody that is responsible for answering the 911 call. And that is somebody of the officer level that is trained and certified through NFPA to be a fire officer in the province. So they're responsible for acknowledging the call and ensuring that we were receiving a response from our firefighter personnel to our customer at the time to mitigate their emergency, regardless of what it is. That same person I have identified in this plan could also be your response after hours and on weekends for bylaw. We could work through this process to identify a reasonable remuneration to remain on call for this purpose. Currently, they are doing so through the volunteer firefighter budget. We could look at doing this through the volunteer firefighter budget for the remainder of 2023, and then identify through the budget process for 24 what the additional costs might look like. Would also give us time over the next 6 months of 2023 to identify the needs for bylaw and to identify if we need to hire additionally or if we're able to deal with it within our own current staffing levels that we have. So far, I have a report in front of me, the one that was mentioned in the agenda, 44 complaints, March 7th to July 10th. That's just one part of the year. What we need to do is ensure that we're following our bylaw complaints up through to completion, period. That's part of this plan. When we respond to bylaws at completion and we're knowledgeable in the subject matter, we can also identify the need for a bylaw to be revised. And then through our clerk's department and or our planning department, we can identify the process to which bylaws need to be revised. And you don't have your bylaw department working from a 2009 document. But we have to start somewhere. So I've identified this as a stepping stone. Just as an example, if you paid your on-call officers $100 a day, just as an example for easy number figuring, it doesn't have to be that. 52 weeks a year is 104, that's $10,400 in a year. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a security company to come and provide your bylaw 24-hour response for that dollar value. These are the reasons why I'm putting this forth as your comprehensive bylaw plan and asking council's permission to formally give us the reins to see if we cannot make a difference for the residents.
Thank you, David. Questions or comments from council? Or maybe I should read the resolution first. Be it resolved that the Council of Township of Alma-Calderman approve the proposed comprehensive bylaw plan as outlined in the report. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor Lowell, I want to commend Fire Chief Dave that, because this is long overdue for this municipality. And, you know, since we've been canvassing and going through our first 6 or 7 months, the bylaw enforcement has been a huge part of conversations. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this all folds out and we get action for our residents out there in all complaints. And I would, I don't know if you can right now go through how the Fire Pro works, Dave, and is there going to be extra training for bylaw for your duty officers?
Through your Mayor Logo, Councillor, I can't show Fire Pro publicly because of the information on it, but I can comment to it. The identification of using the program Fire Pro is so that all complaints will be registered to the property address. And it is a file system or computer program system that tracks all incidents, all fire related incidents, all bylaw incidents. It can be used for building. It can be used for other emergency incidents, but anything that comes through your fire department is logged to this program. And we've been using it for several years. The department has before my time, and we've been using it significantly since. It keeps track of everything from inventory to safety checks, to training, and adding the bylaw piece, which is an option for the program, comes at a cost of $600 to purchase the ability to use the bylaw icon, and the annual fee is $176. All of your documents would be in one spot, including photos, reports, everything. If we come up with a fillable form on our website, that form is uploadable to the Fire program through a CVS file, which is on the Excel program. Just as long as we populate the columns appropriately, it will all upload to this program. There will be some programming charges for that, but to get us started and in the right place, we've been using it now for 2 weeks. And our acting CEO updated the 855 number, and we had our first after hours call last Friday night at about 1:30 in the morning. But an officer was able to attend a residence that was having an issue. And that is what we're trying to accomplish. I would be able to show you the Fire Pro probably enclosed how it works. The other recommendation that I was remiss in mentioning was the idea of creating a protective services umbrella where your bylaw, your fire and police will all be able to communicate effectively and have some meetings throughout the year so that we know and understand what is exactly going on inside of our municipality.
Thanks, David. Looking forward to it.
Deputy Mayor Stover.
Through your mayor local to Chief Dawson, this is exactly what we needed. And the compliance will come along with this whole program. And the customer service was identified as lacking, and I think you have pinpointed it. And we'll look forward to seeing this whole program. Well, you already have implemented it. And I think it's a win-win for the municipality. Thank you.
Any other comments? I have one, Dave, and that goes with the current complaint form that we have. And that is used for public works as well. And I don't know for sure, but I'm understanding probably that what you're saying is this would not include public works complaints.
Mayor Logo, the form, because of our technological savviness in the world today, you use something like Google Forms. You can use a private form as well, but it stores the information. So people will still receive an email. The department heads will still receive the email of the complaint. So yes, it can work for public works, no problem. What we do in the back end when the information is stored is we will download it, and we can download it in an Excel file format. We then change that to a CBS file format and then upload it to FirePro. It's just merely a process.
Okay. So what you're suggesting is you would use that for everything. And the only reason I'm concerned is sometimes an awful lot of the public works complaints have nothing to do with properties and that type of stuff. They are more to do with roads or, you know, trees or whatever, rivers, and they don't really address to a specific property line. But if that's what you're suggesting and it can work, then that's fine.
Mayor Logo, so what I'm recommending is that we look at a more efficient process. At the end of the day, it may look like something totally different, but the functionality is the same. We're trying to create an efficient process where staff do not have to re-enter file after file after file, that it is able to be used across many different platforms.
Okay.
And we should be able to accomplish that today.
Okay. So I guess what you're suggesting is you're asking us for the okay to go ahead and investigate this, and then you're going to come back with council with your final thoughts.
The Mayor Logo, the ask is that you give us the bylaw department to effectively manage, to put this response plan together that I've identified for council. We give our new building official, bylaw official, time to get involved with the township, see all that needs to get done, get caught up, and then we can have some meetings with some data that we can look at, that we can make better decisions from. It's really collecting the data and providing a response model for the residents.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Deputy Mayor?
Through your logo to Chief Dawson, one of the issues that arose a couple of weekends ago and since has been rectified, and speaking to a resident about the after hour number, they didn't think that it was, they had in their mind that to call that 800 number, that it had to be an emergency. So there has to be some component of this where I guess awareness to our residents that this is available. Is that, did I miss that in there, or are you looking at that as well?
Through you, your mayor. So two things, Deputy Mayor. One is our acting CO has approved a campaign to send out to all of our residents. And it is going to look like something like a fridge magnet, maybe a postcard, probably a magnet, because sticking to your fridge is very easy. On it identifies, in case of an emergency, call 911. In case of an urgent bylaw matter, call the 855 number. And for all non-urgent matters, please go to the website and fill out the form. So one of the things that we do need to understand with respect to bylaw, and I can speak to those that are here about that. Bylaw is not always about immediate enforcement or an infraction. Bylaw is also very much about process. So where we don't always have the tools in our hands immediately to deal with something with respect to bylaw, what our jobs are to do is to investigate and put together a report that then goes to senior staff, the CAO, who then in turn decides if it goes to council, thus providing council the opportunity to govern. That is the process that we are looking to follow and to put together.
Just one more, oh, sorry,
Oh, and roads as well for the 855.
just one more thing through your Mayor Logo, and listening to you, Chief Dawson, kind of brings up the point again, when should somebody call the bylaw officer in? And if it's urgent, I guess, what is urgent? Like a huge party on the block, or would that sort of thing be after, like a couple of days afterwards, you're going to put in a complaint? So I think that's the sort of thing that people are kind of a little reluctant to call that 800 number. So that was just my thought on that number.
Through you, Mayor, I probably should have brought my dancing shoes tonight, but I left them at home.
Well, I
But I
can't
do
dance
appreciate the
tonight.
questions.
I can't dance tonight.
So bylaw, you can find all of the bylaws on our website. Basically, the way I put it is that if you are made felt uncomfortable on your own property for any specific reason, that's probably a good reason to call. If you call the 855 number, the officer can advise you based on what you tell them, whether or not they can respond out, because it is that, and they'll also advise you if you should call 911, if it is a police matter. But regardless, what the municipality is offering through this plan is the ability to get a hold of somebody, and somebody very quickly.
You've answered that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any further comments or just thoughts? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you, Chief. And you're not off the hot seat yet. We have 7.5. Report from Dave Dawson, Fire Chief, dated July 18th, 2023, regarding short-term rental bylaw and comprehensive action plan. Dave, you ready? Go ahead.
I am, thank you. And I'm through you, Mayor, I'm sure the room is full because of this report that is in the council agenda. What I'd like to start off by saying is that I have taken the time to read all of the social media posts that I could find. There is some very good information in those posts. There also is some very unfortunate information in those posts. And I also was disheartened to read some fear-mongering posts within those social media posts, and that's very unfortunate. With respect to the report on the STR bylaw, I would like to make a recommendation that this go back to either a planning process, a meeting process, a strategic planning process, senior staff process, whatever that is, and identified the first thing that is really important, and that is the mission statement. Why do we need this? Why should we have that? What I am, so if I may, what our biggest issue is, and funny enough, my son ran into this tonight up in Algonquin Highlands. The biggest problem that we have is absent owner or owner absent facilities. And when I call it facilities, I mean buildings of any kind, residential, commercial, whatever. that are getting rented out at a very quick pace over the internet or over a different forum, whatever it might be. But the renters actually never see anybody. They just show up. Rules aren't explicit. They're not explained well. And our residents that live beside these operations, unfortunately, have to deal with the fallout of it. And in Algonquin Highlands tonight, my son went to a place that we were looking at the internet to rent for a week because our place was going to be rented for a week that I'll come back to in a minute, to friends and family, which is why we put in there and copied what Algonquin Highlands is doing, allowing everybody that would be considered an amateur to rent for a certain period of time their own home or their own cottage or facility. So my son showed up to ask questions about how could he rent it. And there's nobody there. Individual rooms, common kitchen area, and there's nobody there to regulate it. Nobody there to police it. You're not in control of who is coming and going. That is certainly an interesting business practice, certainly not one that I would care for, but at the same time, we have to put something together that is respectable for all of our residents, something to deal with our problems. 44 complaints from March 7th to July 10th, 30% are STR. For various things like, that's it, 30%. But if you ask me, that's still a significant number because we deal with a lot of bylaw complaints. This does not give you the representation of a full year, but in fact, the STR complaining has only really risen since our last council put in play an STR bylaw. So one of the things that we really need to focus on, and this is my recommendation, and I'll say it again, there was some great information in what's being portrayed out there, but be careful with what you're reading because it's not right and it's not fair. A big question that I can answer with respect to inspections. Under the fire code, and this has never been talked about in any of our deliberations that I have read yet, but under the Ontario Fire Code, you have something that's considered a high occupancy building. A high occupancy building is anything above 10. Okay. We cannot call an STR commercial because it's not zoned commercial. Some people don't even want to talk about it. That's why we call it a short-term rental. Gets us around some legal jargon. But the problem that we have is the occupancy of these buildings is exceeding the safe practice of egress and the safe practice of protecting lives. And people are doing it, and a lot of people that do rent places that are unattended come with a level of disrespect. And that is a big problem. I don't believe that our focus is the companies that are doing a great job today. I don't believe our focus is those that are operating a great bed and breakfast, being present, operating a company, being present, or having staff that are present and no neighbors are complaining. I really don't think that's our focus. So with that, Mayor Logo, I'd like to ask that this go back to a great planning process where we can gather all of the information through our council members and our staff. Our council members, because they're the representation of our customers, and we put together something that is going to be palatable by the majority. I know that we're not going to be a win for everyone, but I think we can do better than what we've done before. If I had all of the information when I did this report that I've gathered in the last 2 days, I might have done it differently, and I'm okay to own that. But I do think we can do good.
Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor Logo. Thanks, Dave. You said some good words there and you touched on a lot of good things. And, you know, I'd like to make a motion to defer this so that we can sit down with staff and Deputy Mayor Stover and myself to put this package together. And I think that's a good move. I think of all the stuff that we've had through conversations with both sides of the table on this here that we have under our belt and talking to residents and everything that we, you know, a lot of it got missed. And to be able to put this together. So, I mean, when you look in the crowd here tonight and you look in the crowd every time we have these meetings about short-term rentals, we never see the people here that we're complaining about. We see the people here that want to help us put this together. So I think that's kudos and for that group to be here. And it's well noted. You know, they're here to help us. They're not here to hinder us. And if the short-term rental owners that we had the issues were here going, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know that, I want to do better, but we're not seeing that. So along with your bylaw enforcement program and putting a good bylaw together, simple, that we can all work with. And you know, we're not dealing with outside people here as far as business owners, we're dealing with our own residents. So all this stuff has to be taken into account. And we got to look after everybody in putting that together. So again, I would like to make a motion that this gets deferred. And with Mayor Stover and I and staff to put this together.
Thank you, Mike. Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I guess I would second that, but I'd like to add some to that. I believe that we have an opportunity to do the data collection that was part of the original objective to better understand the situation, because there are a lot of people we've heard from, but as you point out, we haven't heard from everyone. And we don't actually fully understand, and the enforcement strategy that we just approved is really going to help us to understand. But the data collection over this year will help us dramatically. We can continue to research what other municipalities are going to do, and we can decide how it fits into our strategic plan. Because yes, tourism's a part of what we're considering, but caring for the environment matters, making sure that this is a great spot to live matters, and our agricultural community really matters. So how does all of these pieces fit together? So I would like to see it deferred until this season is completed, so that we have more information and we can actually make well-informed decisions on it. If you're okay with that, Councillor Ainsworth.
Well, I would be okay with part of it, but I don't want to defer it too long. We got to get this done. You know, we've been here now 4 or 5 times, plus our ad hoc committee. And, you know, I think we could sit down and at least put the bylaw together and deal with your stuff through the strategic planning. And hopefully be able to put it all together as one, and with the information we're going to come out of the new bylaw procedure.
Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
Just further to that, I think it is important that everybody realizes zoning changes are not something, changing the zoning bylaw is not something that can happen quickly.
Yeah.
So there's no way this is going to be changed before the end of this summer. So we might as well be collecting the data and collecting the information and make sure that we're entering next year with what we want in place.
Deputy Mayor.
Through your logo, I kind of concur with both of you that we're close. When I look at the bylaw that we have, we're very close. And once we get the data, order. Yes, sir, you will leave. Yes, you will. Sir, that is enough. That is enough. That is enough. We will be bringing the all the information back. We will have the bylaw in place and let the process take its course. And that is how we're going to get through this. And that's enough. That is enough. Okay.
Joan.
Okay,
Joan.
so are you gonna call this meeting off now? Okay.
Joan, call a recess. Can I have a motion to call for recess?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by,
You were elected by the people. You work for the people.
Okay.
You need to start listening to
Is
the people.
that all in order? The meeting is now concluded.